Hi. I wasn't expecting that many people, so this is kind of bizarre to me. Throughout my professional career, I've always wanted to do two things. Number one is to work as a radio presenter on Nile FM, and number two is to give a TED or a TEDx talk. So today, right now, one of these dreams is going to be realized. So thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you so much, and I really hope I don't mess this up somehow. So anyway, proper introductions are in order. My name is Maihoob. I'm a certified English teacher, and I want to start this talk by asking you a very curious question. Who here has done something or has gone through an experience that scared the life out of them? If you have them, please raise your hand. So, I see you, okay? So, as expected, not that many of us has done that, which is perfectly fine and normal because we as human beings, we tend to stay in our comfort zone. We don't like to do things that make us feel embarrassed, scared, worried, or basically uncomfortable. I mean, look at me, for example. I used to be a guy who was perfectly fine and content with the small circle of friends that he had around him. I hated social gatherings. I hated interacting with people unless I know them very, very well. I used to do the same thing every single day, over and over and over again. بصحى الصبح بروح الجامعة بروح أنام بنزل القهوة بروح أنام. That's it. On a loop بقى يعني for 4 straight years. I'm not exaggerating. So I kind of understand what some people or where they're coming from. I even enrolled into marketing when I was in college because it was the easiest and most convenient approach for me during that time. And because I didn't want to study that much, to be honest. So, do you remember the question that I asked you a moment ago about the scary experience? I've had mine. And it was in the form of serving my obligatory military service. الجيش. دخلت الجيش. And it was awful. It was by far one of the worst experiences that I've ever had in my life for many, many reasons. For example, the food there was really, really bad that when the canteen had instant noodles, اللي في كوباية, people would be like, canteen عنده noodles, اجري, الحق, والناس كلها بتزق وتخبط في بعض. وللأسف أنا كنت منهم, true story. And I used to wake up every single day at 4:30 a.m., whether I've had any sleep or not. I didn't shower for 19 straight days. Couldn't care less about it at all. I was away from my family and friends for a really, really long time. But the most heartbreaking thing and the worst thing that I had to experience was seeing my mother cry the first time she saw me and my brother when she came to visit us. And that, in return, made me cry as well. And that's something that doesn't happen very often. So, like I said, this was by far one of the worst experiences in my entire life. But I'll always be grateful for going through all of these awful things because they helped me become the person that I am today. And most importantly, they helped me find my passion in life and my purpose, which is teaching. So you might be asking yourselves right now, how? How did all of these really bad and awful things help you become a better person? I'm going to tell you how and when exactly. It happened during my third night in the military. I was having a cup of tea, minding my own business, sitting by myself, just waiting for the day to end. And I overheard two people talking about football. And I love football. I'm a huge football fan. Thank you. Thank you. And during that moment, I had two clashing thoughts in my head. First one was to, of course, keep minding my own business, finish my cup of tea, go to bed, or try to go to bed. And the second thought was to actually go and approach these guys and join the conversation. So after 10 long minutes of careful deliberation and consideration, I decided to go and talk to these guys. And they were really, really cool about it. We kept talking for about an hour or an hour and a half about football, about life. It was amazing. And to this very day, these two guys are very, very good friends of mine. And ever since that night, my perspective about life and about everything changed 180 degrees. So, that's why I'm here. I'm here to try and convince you, fine young people, the younger generation, to get out of your comfort zones, to start doing new things, to explore life, live life to the max. Because unlike me, you don't have to be forced to do so. You can actually choose to do it. Let me tell you about how I got my first teaching job. I was sitting at home on the couch, ما أنتخ، ما بعملش أي حاجة مفيدة. I was looking for a job, and I stumbled on a very interesting job posting, and it said, life skills teacher needed. And during that time, I hated education. I hated going to school. I hated going to college. I didn't know a thing about teaching. All I knew was that my English language was good. So I had a conversation with myself, and I said, Huda, Magarab, why don't you apply for this? It sounds like a very, very, very interesting job. And if you fail, you can just apply for another job. If you get rejected, even after getting the job, then you will have learned something. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? So I did. I applied for the job, and I got accepted. And I've been teaching ever since for almost 6 years now. And I've loved every single second of it. It was by far the best decision that I've ever made in my whole life. So the question here is the following. Why don't you try and do the same? Why don't you apply to that internship that you think isn't worth the money or the hassle? Why don't you go to that college that you really, really want to go to, but you think that you might fail? Why don't you go to that interview that you're so worried about failing in? And let's be honest here. I'm pretty sure most of you guys or girls, you have a crush on someone. You're at that age. Let's be honest. غير تحوير. So why don't you go and confess to your crush that you like him or her? What's the worst that could happen? Soak it in, soak it in. You might get embarrassed, you might get rejected, or you might feel disappointed. So what? Bad experiences always teach you something. They always do. And there's one specific example, or in this case, one specific man, that I hold very, very close and dear to my heart. And I keep reminding myself of him whenever I fail. And I failed a bunch of times in my life. more than I can remember. That man is my dad. You see, my dad used to be a very famous football player back in the day. Thank you! Thank you so much! مين أهلاوي هنا؟ ارفعوا ايديكم، مين أهلاوي؟ رعدوكوا يا رجالة. He used to be a very famous footballer back in the day, Maihoob. He used to play for Al Ahly and for the Egyptian national team. He was a big deal back in the day. But as a kid, my dad didn't have it easy at all. He came from a very humble family. And he lived in a very, very far place. But he had one thing, and one thing alone. He had this persistent, relentless, and undying passion for football. And he wanted to become a football player really, really bad, that he used to commute or go to his practice every single day. And it took him 4 hours to do so. But he didn't mind it. He felt happy. He felt comfortable. Kept doing this for many, many years until on one day, one of the coaches approached him and said, Ale, you're a very, very talented football player. You have the makings of becoming a great football player. But there's this teeny, tiny, very small problem. Your body is weak. You're very short. You're very small. And unless something changes, I think that we might have to let you go. So what did my dad do during that time? He started exploring new ways, new methods. He started trying new things in order to achieve what he wanted, in order to get bigger, better. In other words, what he did was simply this. He stepped out of his comfort zone in order to achieve what he wanted. And flash forward many, many years, to this day, my dad is considered to be one of the best football players in Egyptian history. He traveled all around the world with his club and country, winning numerous trophies and accolades. And get this, he went to the World Cup in 1990. راح كأس العالم. كأس العالم اللي احنا عملنا عليه حوار لما روحنا السنة اللي فاتت. And he had a very, very successful career. So let me ask you this. What do you think would have happened if my dad had decided to stay in his comfort zone? Can you imagine the amount of things that he would have missed on? Can you imagine the amount of things that you might be missing on because you're too scared or afraid to get out of your comfort zone? Think about that for a second. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up with one of my favorite quotes. Life doesn't get better by chance. It gets better by change. Thank you so much for listening to this. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did, and I hope I'll see you again. Thank you so, so much. Ismail, this one's for you. Sharabi. Thank you.